Hello, I'm Ellen from Integrative Medicine. Welcome to the Gentle Yoga class. To get ready for the class, you might like to have a few props handy, perhaps some pillows or cushions to sit on to support yourself. If you have a small blanket or a towel for support, either for your legs or underneath your head, you're welcome to gather that. Also, it might be helpful to have a yoga block or perhaps some books or a small stool that you can use for support for certain postures. Also handy might be something, this is a yoga strap, but you could use a scarf or a belt or even a necktie. And we use that for different stretches, hamstring stretches mostly. And also, if you like, you can grab a small towel. Sometimes it's nice to have something between your cheek and the floor when you're lying face down. If you like, you can come to the front of your mat. We'll start with a series of movements called exercises for joints and glands. This sequence is exactly what it sounds like. It will address each of your major joints, but it also works on a deeper level, moving your organs and your glands and just stimulating your circulation. So take a moment and come into a standing posture. And usually we begin our practice with centering. So take a moment. If you like, if you feel secure enough to close your eyes, you can close your eyes for a moment. Coming into the space, shifting from whatever you were doing earlier, this hour of practice that you're devoting entirely to yourself. Take a moment to notice from the top of your head down to the soles of your feet, what your body feels like right now. You might already feel relaxed, or you might feel a little fidgety, or perhaps some fatigue or hyper alertness. So just notice what you notice. And then take a moment to notice your breath. First, notice the physical act of breathing, breathing in, breathing out. You might have a sense of your body responding to your inhale. Perhaps you feel a sense of expansion and then a release when you exhale. These are things we sometimes miss during the course of a busy day. We lose connection. And yoga practice is very helpful in putting us back into connection with our body, our breath, and our mind. We'll begin with some head and shoulder movements. So as you're ready, you might stand with your feet slightly apart if that feels more stable. On your next exhale, begin to tilt your head forward toward your chest. And then inhale back up to center. Do that a few times. As much as possible, aligning the movement to the movement of your breath. You might begin to notice any stiffness or tightness in the area of your neck, maybe the tops of your shoulders, maybe one or two more. The next time your chin comes forward, if you like, you can begin to roll your head to the side. And then exhale forward, inhale over to the other side. Create a pace that feels natural to you. Determining, not too fast, not too slow. As you're moving, you might notice some sensation from your neck. This is an area where we tend to hold tension. stress. So we're giving ourselves the opportunity to start releasing any tightness or gripping in that area. And then coming back to center. Moving on to some shoulder rolls. You can begin to move your shoulders in one direction, perhaps front to back. But you could always choose to go the opposite direction. And if your shoulders are okay with it, you can start to make larger movements. Maybe bring your fingertips to your shoulders, circles with your elbows, loosening up your shoulder joints. Noticing again any stiffness or resistance and working with that. So not forcing the body to do more than its capacity, but gently exploring what our bodies are willing and able to do at any moment. And then going in the opposite direction. You might be moving differently than I am because our breath patterns are different. And again, you have the choice of making the movements larger, involving your elbows, bring your elbows a little closer. And then take a moment, just shake everything. Begin to squeeze your shoulders up towards your ears, and without pausing, exhale down. And again, without pausing, lifting on your inhale, exhale. Imagine, if you like, you're squeezing out tension, stress, distraction, and disturbance. And maybe one more. Shake out of your wrists and your hands and your fingers. Allow your hands to come behind you, maybe interlace your fingers, drawing your knuckles down towards your heels, lowering your shoulders and drawing your shoulders back without pushing your chin forward. And begin to squeeze between your shoulder blades. You can start gently. If your shoulder blade area isn't resisting, you can squeeze a little bit more. This movement is helpful, especially if you spend a lot of your time hunched over a keyboard, so it helps to open the chest, relieve the stiffness or the rounding in the upper back area. Let's step a little wider. Trying to do some side tilting. As you're ready, you can interlace your fingers again and then push your palms away. You can do that a few times. You might notice a bit of stretch in your palm area. You don't need to straighten your arms unless that comes naturally. And then maybe lifting your hands over your head. Pause for a moment, maybe pushing your palms towards the ceiling as you lengthen your spine. Feeling the front of your torso lengthening. And then on your exhale, begin tilting to one side. And then inhale up. And then tilt to the other side. And we'll do that a few more times. As you tilt, you might notice some sensation on one side of your body, some lengthening, sense of muscles engaging, tissues expanding. Maybe even you notice some space, extra space between your ribs. Breathing into that area where you're feeling the expansion. Bringing some new energy there, helping with the wake up those tissues and muscles and everything else in between. And then take a moment, widen your feet out a little further, begin to swing your hips. To move into our hip joints, you might get a little sensation from your lower back, also your inner thighs. And again, always moving within your capacity. There's no need to overdo. More is not always better. And then bringing your feet together, moving down to your knees. Begin to make some small circles. If you have anything that prevents you from doing any of these movements, and everybody, just about everybody I know has something. So be kind to yourself. Give yourself the option to skip something or to do it differently. And then moving down to your ankles, you can press the backs of your toes. Sometimes that area is a bit stiff, so it might be more on the tips of your toes, or your heel might be lower. Begin to make some rotations in one direction and then the other. And it's not unusual to hear little joint release noises. So you might get some popping or Rice Krispie noises. It's just things moving around, working out some stiffness. And then take a moment. I'm going to move my props out of the way. If you have something that you need to move, you can do that now. And if you like, you can join me in the standing version of cat-cow. So we'll take a moment to rest our hands just above our knees, elbows as straight as you can make them. If you're familiar with cat-cow, you know it's two different shapes of your spine, a rounding shape for cat, and that sort of sway shape for the cow. So as we're moving through the cat-cow exercise, you may notice that while you're moving, you're also breathing. As you exhale, you might round your back, drop your head, maybe squeeze your navel slightly. And then without pausing, coming back into cow, lifting your tailbone. You might feel your belly drop as your chest and chin lift. About 6 or 8 rounds. Cultivating a smooth, continuous, complete breath. A complete breath is a diaphragmatic breath. You're getting a full lungs full of air as you inhale, and then as you exhale, you completely release. And then as you finish, take a moment, come to mountain pose. Face your palms towards the top of your mat. If you like, you can pause here for a few breaths. Notice the effect of the movements that we just did. Started with a body that was feeling sluggish or sleepy. You might notice a bit more energy having been created. And widen out a bit more. And then do a swing from side to side. Keep your back heel off the ground. Just a gentle rotation. If your spine is not rotating at all, you could skip this entirely. Maybe do another stretch that we did previously or something that of your own that you like to do. And then pause for another moment in mountain stillness, either with your eyes closed or perhaps half open. Tuning into your breath. As we prepare to move into some yoga postures. Going to be moving through Warrior One with a forward fold and maybe a slight back bend. But we'll see when we get there. This is where the blocks come in handy. So you can place those, or even the seat of a chair in front of you. You can also place your palms on the seat of the chair for support. And when you're ready, coming into mountain, palms together, pause for a couple of breaths, preparing your body and your mind, focusing on what it is that we're about to do. And then as you feel ready, shifting your weight, you can lift your foot and then step back. So one long step. The placement of your feet a little wider so that you can square off your hips. One way of determining that is place your hands on your hips. If you notice that your elbows are off kilter, then you know you might want to reposition your feet so that you can bring your pelvis more into that frontward alignment. Take a moment to settle in, collect your balance. Front knee is bent over your ankle or maybe slightly behind. You might feel some lengthening in your back leg. And you can always unbend if your back leg is really tight. Always making the choices that are appropriate to your body. And then if you like, bringing your hands, palms together. You're welcome to stay here. You might feel a place where you can balance and breathe, be effortless. Or if you like, you can lift your arms, maybe extend them towards the ceiling. Gaze straight ahead. Relaxing your jaw, soften your shoulders. Smooth, steady, continuous breaths. And as you're ready, begin to bring your palms together, straighten your front leg. Pause for a resting breath here because we're going to start the forward fold. And we'll start that on an exhale. Inhale. And then as you exhale forward, you might already transfer your hand to your leg for support. Maybe slide down, maybe you found the seat of a chair. Forward folding, if you have excessively high blood pressure that is untreated, this is one you will skip. If you're planning to go a little further, you can take your props, your chair, or your stool, or whatever you're using. Give your hamstrings a moment to adjust. You can always keep that front knee slightly bent for comfort. And then your choice of how you proceed with the posture. You have a well-developed forward fold practice. You might be going farther forward, maybe dropping your head. And then when you're ready to come up. So this is where we start to tune into our abdominal muscles and our breath to help us come back up. On your next inhale, slightly squeeze your navel. And on your inhale, lift up to your fingertips. From here, you can either transfer your hands to your legs to help yourself come back up, or you can do sort of a free form, maybe bring your palms together. Squeeze your navel slightly, up the rest of the way. And then as you're ready, stepping your back foot forward, pause for a moment. Take a resting breath. And then release, and we'll do the same on the other side. If you want to take a bit more time in between, totally your choice. Notice that when you move to the second side, sometimes second side will be a little bit different than the first side. So nothing wrong with that. Our bodies tend to be asymmetrical. So as you're ready from mountain, collect your breath, a couple of inhales and exhales. Then shifting into your standing leg, begin to lift the other and step back. Same as we did on the first side, checking in with the placement of your hips. If you're not feeling stable, see if you can work on that first. There's no point in moving ahead if you're not stable. It makes us anxious and it just activates our nervous system in an unhelpful way. And then bringing palms together, pause, soften your shoulders, lift through your spine, back heel, anchored to the mat. And then as you're ready, if you want, you can extend your arms, or you can keep them on your hips or Palms together in front of your chest. Pause here for a few breaths. Breathing deeply. So you might even feel the bottommost part of your rib cage expanding and then releasing. Gaze is steady. I find it helpful to focus on something that's stationary, not moving. And then bring the palms together, straighten or maybe keep partially bent that front leg. And on your exhale, begin to drop your torso forward without collapsing in your upper back. So if you can keep your shoulders back slightly, lead with your chest. And then from here, maybe you're supporting yourself with your leg. Maybe you're finding your props, whatever you're using. Not unusual to reposition your legs. You might widen out or make the posture longer or shorter. So whatever is stabilizing. You may notice that your hamstrings begin to wake up. So give them a little extra time, especially if they're tight. And then for the folks who would maybe like to try a bit more, you're welcome to do that, but without effort. Allow it to come naturally. Smooth and steady breathing. And then as you're ready to release, bending your front knee, we'll repeat that lift that we practice on the first side, which is helpful for strengthening the abdominal area. So as you're ready, begin to squeeze your navel slightly toward your spine, and then on your inhale, lift up to your fingertips. Pause for a moment, engaging your abdominal muscles, and either hands to your legs to come up or palms together. Inhaling, squeezing your navel just slightly for strengthening. And then as you're ready, stepping forward with that back foot. Pause for a moment. Notice the areas that are still working. So it might be your shoulders coming up a little bit, your jaw might be a bit tense. So before moving on, help those areas relax. And then we'll follow that with a half sun salutation. So on your next inhale, begin to lift. Full inhale, and then a long exhale coming either to your knees, your shins, your ankles, or even to the floor. And inhaling halfway up. Without pausing, exhale down. Bending your knees, big long inhale up. Do a slight back bend here if you like. And then exhale. One more, so inhale. Breath-aligned movement. Exhaling, going forward at the length of your exhale. Inhaling, short inhale up, short exhale down. Inhale all the way up. Back bend if you like. And then coming back to mountain, pause for a moment. Notice if your head is pitching forward, if your buttocks are tightly clenched or your jaw. And take a moment to relax those before we move on. Maybe it's a good place to just do a little bit of, movement just to loosen up anything that's still engaged. So that could be anything. Stepping wide on your mat. Make sure both feet are on the mat if you're using a yoga mat. Moving to warrior two. And to rotate your front toes towards the short end of your mat. And this back heel is going to move slightly back. This allows your thigh to rotate inward. And then just notice here the position of your pelvis and your hips. You might continue moving your feet to get to a place where you feel stable. And then eventually this front knee will bend. Take a look down at it. Make sure it's not collapsing in towards your arch or if it's way past your ankle. So over your ankle, slightly behind is safe. And then as you're ready, arms reach across from your shoulders, fingertips pointing in opposite directions. You might notice your front knee starts to unbend. You can bend it a little more if you want, or keep it where it was. And then fixing your gaze over your front hand. 3 to 5 inhales and exhales here. As you inhale, feeling the breath coming from deep in your body, exhaling back down deep into your body. Smooth, continuous inhale and exhale. And then as we add something to it, and you can stop at any time, take a break if yoga is new to you especially, placing your hand on your back leg, front fingertips to your shoulder. Begin to lift your elbow, noticing that lengthening that's occurring here. And then if you like, lengthening a bit more through your spine, tilting back into reverse warrior. You can stay here. If your posture is steady and it's in your practice, you can extend your arm to the ceiling. But that's just optional. Fingertips on shoulders is fine. And then coming back, we're going to go in the opposite direction. So you can either place your hand or your forearm on your thigh, lengthening from your back leg all the way up, and then eventually extending your arm, or you can keep it on your waist. So your choice. Moment to notice whether your top shoulder is more or less aligned over your bottom shoulder. There is a tendency to tilt forward, so you can peel that upper shoulder back. To help that, you could actually tuck your arm behind you. That's a great way of keeping that upper shoulder in place. And then as you're ready, pressing into your foot, engaging your abdominals, using your inhale, lift up, parallel your feet. So if you have a prop handy, you might bring that in front of you. We're going to do a wide-legged forward fold. Again, for the folks who are not forward bending, you can do any of the exercises for joints and glands that we did previously, just to keep moving. And then we'll start resting our hands just above our knees. My knees are bent. And here's where you decide whether you're gonna go down to the floor or stay here, which is totally fine. Find your prop. You might even have your fingertips on the floor. Either slightly pigeon-toed, if that works for you. And then your choice whether you dip forward with bent legs, or you can straighten them and bend. So your choice. Yeah, the reach, you can also place your palms on the floor. And just let your upper body drape forward. You can nod your head yes, and no. And then to come up, we're going to do that same action we did earlier, coming up from a forward fold. Come to your fingertips. You might be on a prop. On your next exhale, gently squeeze your navel to your spine. You bring your hands to your hips and inhale your way back up. And then heel toe your feet in, give your ankles a little shake. And we'll move to warrior two on the other side. So take a moment. Front toes move towards the short end of your mat. And this back heel, it goes a little farther back to help your thigh rotate inward. And you might find yourself, I do, moving this foot around so that I can get my knee over my ankle or in that direction. And then the orientation of your torso is towards the long side of your mat. May not be 100%, might be a slight tilt, that's fine. And then lift your arms across from your shoulders. As you're ready, shifting your gaze over your front hand. Smooth, continuous, effortless breathing. 2 golden rules of yoga postures are stability and comfort. So you can ask yourself, is it stable? Is it comfortable? Allow your shoulders to sink down from your ears. As you work, you might notice they start to creep up. And then as we go to reverse warrior, back hand onto your leg, fingertips to shoulder, lifting your elbow first, creating that length in your side body and also encouraging your spine. Always breathing. And then as you're ready to tilt back, using it maybe where the wall and the ceiling meet, that's steadier for you. And then ultimately you decide whether that top arm is going to extend. Breathing, breathing, breathing. And then as you prepare to move into extended side angle, either your hand or arm, lengthen from your back foot up your side body, through your spine to the top of your head, and then allowing your arm to extend or not. You'd always put your hand on your waist. Breathing into your legs, feeling that connection of feet to the floor, steadiness and ease. Smooth, continuous breath. Now it might get a little wobbly as effort kicks in. And then as you're ready, begin to lift yourself back up. Bring your feet together, do a little shake out. You can, lower back got a little bit excited. You can shake that out too. And then we'll do that half sun salutation again, or modify if you like. So inhale up, back bend if you want. This time let's come through the center. And exhale all the way down to knees, shins, ankles, wherever. Hang out for a moment. Maybe shift your hips from side to side. Your lower back an opportunity to release. And then bending your knees generously. Big long inhale to come all the way up. Without pausing, exhaling, bringing your hands back, rest in front of you. Shake all that out. Now to triangle. So triangle is similar to warrior 2 in terms of leg placement. So again, we'll start with feet wide, toes turned towards the short end, adjusting this back heel. So the difference with triangle is the front leg will remain straight. So both legs are straight. Our first action will be to shift this back hip towards our back heel. And then lift, come back up. You can actually place your hand on your tummy and your hip. Actually feel this movement. So inhaling, lifting through your spine to the top of your head. Exhaling, sending that hip towards the back of the mat. Spine is long. Bottom shoulder reaching towards bottom leg, and then inhale back. For full triangle, many variations. Select the one that works best for you. Remember stability and ease. Inhale. As you begin to exhale, you can slide your hand down your front leg, just above your kneecap. You're welcome to stay here. Might also try a slightly different arm, maybe fingertips to shoulder, lifting that elbow as we did before. For the folks who haven't established triangle practice, you can hop over your knee, a little lower. You might be using a block at this point, some folks do. Maybe start with hand on hip, Continue to draw that top shoulder back. Make sure you're breathing, make sure you're stable. And then your choice whether you lift the top arm and release the bottom arm. Smooth, continuous, diaphragmatic breath. And then when you're ready, release. Make sure you're stable. You can bend your knee and then bring yourself back up. A moment to do a few hip swings. If you notice, you get more sensation in your lower back after triangle. You may have overused your lower back rather than engaging your core strength or abdominal muscles. And that's okay, it's part of the learning process, and we all do it. So be kind to yourself, that's the most important thing. And every day, every class, you learn something new about it. So take a moment, find your foot posture. And if you want, hands on hips. Stabilize your breathing first, make sure you're breathing. And inhale, lengthen, and as you exhale, tilt over to the side. Just a little bit. Remember, we're also activating this part of our leg. If it's a little bit stiff or tight, might need a little bit more time to loosen. And exhale again, lift back into it. And then if you're planning to go a little bit deeper, hand hops over your kneecap, maintaining that alignment of top shoulder over bottom shoulder as much as possible. And then your choice, what you're doing with the upper arm. So maybe on this side, your stability requires that you use your arm. Always be willing to make that adaptation, that modification. Yoga practice isn't really about like super achievement. It's more about getting to know yourself on your physical level, learning how your breath works, and then how your mind is involved, and then bending your front knee. Standing, and again, maybe a little bit of a hip swing. Maybe this side, you notice your back wasn't quite as much involved. Chair pose. Take a moment. My feet are slightly parted for stability. And we'll do it, if you know the arms for chair, you're welcome to incorporate them. I'm not going to use them today, but I will give a couple of variations. So hands in front of chest. Notice that your breath is moving. Soften your buttocks, soften your gaze. Inhale, and then as you're ready, begin to drop your knees and shift your hips slightly back. So as you drop your tailbone, you may notice your lower back flattens out somewhat. Shoulders are down and slightly back. Chin is tucked in toward your chest, but not compressing the front of your neck. Allow your abdominal muscles to hold you in the shape. If you want, you can use what we call the skier's arms. You can draw your hands behind. If you have the the desire, you can sink your hips a little lower, but only if you don't get knee discomfort. Abdominal muscles are still engaged and you're still breathing. And then eventually shift your way down towards your shins, your ankles, rest forward in that standing forward fold. And bend your knees, squeeze your navel in towards your spine, lifting yourself back up, the reverse swan dive, and then come to the center. And to do that again, but we're going to add a rotation. So not a big rotation, just a little something to swivel our spine. So you can bring your feet a little bit closer together. If this doesn't feel stable, then feel free to keep them wider, your choice. You can also hold on to something to begin with to steady yourself. So take a moment. And as you're ready, inhaling, lifting through your legs, feel your spine length all the way to the top of your head. And as you exhale, sending your hips back. And bring one hand to your waist, and then reach the other hand to the outside of your leg. And then as you're ready, begin to rotate your gaze towards the screen. Very moderate twist here. You might feel slight compression in your navel area. And then release, come up. Do a little swivel hula hooping just to release your lower back. And we'll do it on the other side. Starting in mountain. For a moment, make sure you're stable, inhaling. As you exhale, slightly engage your navel, send your hips back, bend your knees. Chin tucks in a bit towards your chest, not a lot. This time, let's do a different arm. Maybe we can place our hands on our hips. Shoulders are still back, so chest is broad. And for the folks who might like to try this, kind of a goalpost position. And then from there, you can smoothly move into your rotation. Hand on hip, other hand crosses on your outside leg. Breathe. You might have just an itty bitty twist, totally fine. Release your buttocks. And then if it's available, maybe a slight extra twist towards the screen. So if you feel stable, and then release. And shake out your hips and your lower back. And now come down to the mat. We'll do a bit of floor work. If you do have something ready for behind your head, you can place that now. And then also, if you do have a strap or the necktie or belt available, you can bring that down with you. A moment to rest on your back. And to loosen any remaining engagement or tension there. You can rock your knees from side to side. And then we'll follow that with a few rounds of Apanasana. Will help to lengthen and stretch out the area of your lower back. So do your feet off the floor. On your next exhale, begin to draw your knees in towards your shoulders. Feel that slight lengthening in your lower back. And then inhale, knees draw away. Repeat that about 4 or 5 times. Each time you draw in, you might notice, if your back was tight, you might start to feel some release, but you might not. So your back might just be tight. So just work with it compassionately. And then maybe a few rocks from side to side. Find your strap or your belt. A moment to place it. I usually put it around the ball of my foot. The arch is a bit sensitive, so you might, if you can keep it in place around the ball of your foot, that might be a better choice. This other leg, you can keep it bent. And then as you're ready, you can bend, maybe partially straighten. Hamstrings are often The tight side, an opportunity to practice compassion with yourself, patience until they release. Or if they don't release, practice more patience, more compassion. Doesn't necessarily have to be how straight your leg is. Notice the sensation of your leg releasing and then extending. Where do you feel the engagement? What is the sensation like? Tolerable? Or is it telling you you should be doing something else? So from here, folks who have it in their practice, you can hold onto your strap. Generally, I suggest that people keep their arms long. There's a tendency to do this, which hunches up your shoulders. So if you keep your hands long, your shoulders are less likely to do that. And then your choice whether that bottom leg extends out. That's, a completely individual thing. You might try it. If it seems to go okay, you can intensify it by lifting your toes up towards the ceiling. But only make those choices if it's safe to do that. You don't want to overdo your body. And then release, take a moment, a little rest, out. And we'll try the other side. I think it's always a good idea to start with the bent legs. I notice bodies don't really like surprises, so just try to minimize those. And then as you're ready, you can bend and straighten. And asking yourself as you go, where do I feel it? Where do I feel it most? Is the sensation useful? Or is my leg objecting? In which case I have a number of choices I can make. And then if you're planning to, you can rest here with this hamstring stretch. You might notice also with your hands extended, the weight of your arms using the straps adds to the stretch. So you decide how much of that you want. If you don't want that, you can loosen your hands and just leave it to the lengthening of your leg without adding the weight of your arms. And then if you're planning to extend that other leg, you're welcome to with or without the foot. Yoga as an exploration. We start with the physical aspect of ourselves, our bodies. We notice where we keep our tension, where our limitations are, notice old or new injuries, and learn how to work within the restrictions or the limitations. And then to release maybe a few rounds again of Apanasana circles here. Always giving yourself an opportunity to take a break, a rest, breaths. And this is a good habit to establish because it's something you can bring in your outer life. Pause once in a while for a little rest. And then come up to a seated posture. Might be helpful to have a towel or something not too high underneath your hips. This posture is called Dandasana, staff pose. So it is a great pose for helping to continue to strengthen abdominal muscles and also encourage lift in the spine, lift and lengthening. So take a moment. Pelvis is slightly tilted forward. So depending on the shape of your back, there may be some rounding. No judgment about that. It is what it is. But if you can find your way to lengthening versus straightening, you might explore that. And then shoulders are down, maybe slightly back. You might feel a slight opening across your chest. If you like, you can point your toes up towards the ceiling. If that's too much on your hamstrings, you can just leave your feet loose. And placing your hands on either side of your hips. Squeeze your navel as you lift a little longer in your spine and tilt your head just a tad forward. Your eyes closed or focus on your toes. Elbows might be moving toward the back of your mat. Tune in particularly to the area around your navel. What is your strength in that area? You might feel the muscles engaging and then releasing. You might find a longer engagement, or maybe it's almost like a pulsing where while you're strengthening that area, you release and then you engage your muscle. And then release everything and just allow yourself to reach forward in a seated forward fold. Might sense some lengthening here, back, lower back, maybe kidney area, or part of your spine. Again, if you enjoy the hamstring stretch, you can reach for your ankles or flex your feet and then drop your hip forward. Then bring yourself to rest upright. Moving to some hip opening. We'll start with, this posture is called, the yoga name is Baddha Konasana. Baddha means bound and Konasana, Kona means angle, so it's called bound angle. It's also known as cobbler's pose. We'll call it cobbler's. So it is a hip opener. And if you're using some support, maybe you have pillows or cushions. Place those underneath your knee and allow your knees to rest. Again, lifting through your spine, you might be sitting a little forward on your seated prop, so your pelvis tilts forward a bit. And then just rest here. Notice some expansion in your hips, maybe your inner thighs. Knees possibly, if that's an area of sensitivity for you. For folks who have an established Baddha Konasana practice, you can bring your heels in a little closer. Shift your weight forward. Maybe hold on to your ankles or your feet. Knees are dropping out to the side. You also still have the option of placing something underneath your knees for support. So remember, these are all very customizable. And then your choice whether you decide to do the tilt forward. So beginning to come forward from your hip crease. Lowering your torso towards your feet, maybe your fingertips are on the ground. Allow the weight of your torso and gravity to actually allow the pose to happen. So we're not bouncing, we're not forcing anything. We're just, it's like a flower bud opening. We're just allowing it to happen organically. And your body will tell you, we're done for the day. That's totally fine. Always listen to your body. And maintain that smooth, steady, rhythmic breath. Maybe a little bit of compression in your tummy area. You are, if you're resting forward, you might feel just a little bit of pressure feedback. You can always breathe into the lower part of your back and then allow yourself to come up. Knees up, just swish your side to side. So moving into, we're going to do a rotation, spinal rotation, which we call windshield wipers. This is a gentle spinal twist. If your spine does not twist, please do not attempt this. You can do any of the other postures that we just did, or simply rest on your back, and we'll eventually catch up with you. So for windshield wipers, place your feet maybe wide on the mat, and you can place your hands behind you. And just begin to rotate your knees from side to side. So as I rotate left, my torso is going to face towards the right. So that's the rotation. As my legs go right, my torso is going to swivel a little bit towards the left. You can try that a few times. Loosening up your hips. You might have a smaller range of motion, that's fine. No reason why your knees have to come anywhere near the ground. And then take a moment to shake it. And now doing the resting, the back version. So place something underneath our heads, maybe a towel or a blanket. Quick visit to Apanasana, which is a great reset if you're doing spinal rotation. So feet are wide on the mat again. And then I'm going to start dropping my knees from side to side. Coordinating, aligning the movement with your breath. So as I'm exhaling, my knees are dropping over to the side. And as I inhale, my knees lift up. So you might try practicing that today if that is interesting to you. And you can continue maybe a few more times. And then maybe eventually, I'm going to decide maybe to rest on one side. So maybe grab a prop, rest one leg, and then the other. Be very mindful of your lower back. If there's any complaint, then just maintain the moving version rather than resting rotations. Give your body what it needs. And if you want, you can place your one hand on your lower back and the other one on your tummy. And feel yourself breathing between your palms. Soften your buttocks. Let your shoulders soften. And as you're ready, you can transfer your prop to the other side. Maybe a quick visit to Apanasana, just to reset your spine to rest. Then as you're ready, you can do a couple of introductory movements and then dropping your knees over to the side. You might find yourself stacking your pillows. That's perfectly natural. And again, one hand behind you at your lower back, the other one on your tummy, maybe to the side of your abdomen. Feel yourself breathing between your palms. And knowing throughout the practice, you've cultivated this smooth, continuous diaphragmatic breath, which now in a very physical way, you can feel moving in your body. Your hands are actually connected to it. And then gradually release. Sit to Apanasana. So we're moving towards Shavasana, our deep relaxation pose. But before that, we can do an inversion. So an inversion might be happy baby. You can lift your feet and drop your knees out to the side. You can hold behind your thighs, feet onto your calves, your ankles. For the folks who have the reach, you might get your first two fingers between your first two toes. Have fun with this. Happy baby. Right now, you are the happy baby, I hope. Do a little rocking, smooth out any remaining tension or tightness in that lower back area. Whether, if you started out with that, you may notice that it resolved with some of our stretches and movements. And then eventually release. And here's where you have the choice. You might have another pose or movement you'd like to add. I know sometimes people do bridge or maybe an additional windshield wiper. Your choice, whatever makes you feel your practice is complete. For the folks who are going directly to Shavasana, which is a deep relaxation posture, you can rest with your feet long on the mat, hands alongside your body, about 8 to 10 inches away, palms straight up. Lower back is asking for support. Place cushion, pillow, something underneath your knees. It's really helpful, especially if you have a deep lower back arch. Not very comfortable to have that deep arch over an extended period of time. So the bolster or support helps your lower back settle in. And then just allow your hands to rest alongside. I was suggesting that people take their eyeglasses off, wearing glasses, because that signals to your body that you are serious about relaxing. So you can set those aside. We will be here for about 3 minutes or so, 3 or 4 minutes. And immediately after Shavasana, we will do a practice called So-Hum. Now settle into Shavasana. Moment to scan your body for any places that might still be holding some tension or effort. Soften your jaw. Allow your tongue to drop away from the roof of your mouth. Allow your shoulders to be heavy. Soften your buttocks. Some softening around your belly area. Whole body releasing tension, fatigue, stress, distraction. Allow your mind to rest, movement of your breath. Notice the touch of air at your nostrils on the inhale. Just feeling the air cool. The warmth of the air, exhale. Body becomes more rested and relaxed. Breath becomes more stable, more subtle. Mind continues resting on the rhythm and movement of your breath. Clear. Mind becomes more clear, and tranquil. Allow yourself to rest in space. Thoughts arise, simply acknowledge them and let them float away like clouds in a windy sky. Not attaching. Feel ready to release Shavasana. Begin to deepen your breath. To roll over onto one side. And then eventually find your way to a comfortable seated posture. You might be sitting on the floor. You might decide to move to a chair. Always your choice. A moment to establish yourself in a comfortable seated posture. With your head, your neck, and your spine in neutral alignment. Your eyes. To tune into the rhythm of your breath, seeing the smoothness, continuousness, and the movement of your belly area as you inhale. Exhale. So hum pranayama is also, it's a breath practice and a meditation. It helps to create a smooth, continuous flowing breath, which stabilizes and focuses the mind. The inhale, listen for the internal sound of so, and on the exhale, listen for the internal sound of hum. These two sounds blend into one another. So at the end of so, the hum becomes the so. Smooth, seamless flowing rhythm. Inhale. So seamlessly transition into the exhale. Bottom of the exhale, seamlessly transition into the becomes one flowing, moving, circular movement. Sound of so and hum. Anchor your mind. It's more stable, smoother, more subtle. Begin to notice the effortless quality of your deeper and deeper into the awareness, flowing nature of your breath. Peace. So hum. Simply allow your attention to rest in the flowing movement of your breath. As we prepare to release the practice, begin to deepen your breath gradually. Moment to rub your palms together and place them over your closed eyes. And opening your eyes into your palms, and completely outward again. Moment to offer gratitude to yourself for taking time out today for this self-care, self-nourishing, self-healing practice. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Peace, peace, peace. And then if you like, you can put your thumbs to your forehead center and acknowledging each other, bowing forward in gratitude. Namaste.